Okay, it says we're live. Hey everyone, welcome to Priority One Travel's Facebook page. My name is Dale Holste and I am the owner of Priority One Travel. Today I am very excited to have a special guest who has become a new acquaintance of mine. Her name is Kelly Fontenelle and she is the owner of Kelly Fontenelle Marketing and Consultancy, which is a consultancy agency that specializes in Caribbean travel, hotels. And Kelly has been running an amazing Facebook page for us travel agents, delivering information about travel to the Caribbean right now, COVID, so on and so forth. Because it's such a dynamic situation, it's been a great source, and I thought she'd be a great guest to have on. So, Kelly, welcome. You are, I think, my fourth guest on the Priority One Travel Zoom podcast live stream. So, welcome. Please introduce yourself and talk a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me, Dale. It's an honor to be here to talk about travel. As you said, my name is Kelly Fontenelle, originally from the island of St. Lucia. I worked in travel all from the time I left high school. So I worked in travel all my life. I worked with the St. Tourism Authority. That's my former employer. But I was a travel advisor for a little bit time while I was at school. And I realized, this is a lot of work. So it didn't last very long. It didn't last very long. I also did a little bit of work with Air Jamaica in the days of Air Jamaica as well in Miami. So I've been in travel for a while. As you said, I have a boutique marketing agency and I represent some hotels in the Caribbean, some Caribbean suppliers, and I've been loving it since. And as you said, I also manage a Facebook page for travel advisors to help them, keep them in the know of what's happening, because there is just so much happening with COVID and, daily changes and protocols and opening and closing. So I've been using my quarantine time, trying to do that for, our very trusty travel advisors.
Yeah. And again, I mean, it's such a challenging thing for us travel advisors to keep track of who's doing what. And it's such a delicate situation. And even as travel advisors, if you have a client that wants to go somewhere, you almost get shamed in the fact that you sent them places. But I think there's a balance of, if someone's comfortable with traveling and they understand the risks, exactly, and they understand that it's a very fluid situation, we've done our job. It's their choice if they choose to go, and unfortunately, I think things change and people get upset because their plans have been changed. And that's where a lot of the negative publicity comes from. But in reality, as the Caribbean has opened, there's been many happy guests traveling to many different destinations. That's a correct statement, right?
Correct. Yes. I mean, to me right now, traveling it's a personal choice. The travel advisor, as you would educate your client and say, okay, this is it. It's not what it used to be 6 months ago. These are the new changes. These are the new requirements. This is what you have to do. And at the end of the day, if you really want to go, you would go. But as a travel advisor, you let them know exactly what is going on. So they know, you have to do the PCR test. You have to wear your mask. You can't do all of the attractions that's available for now. You can't change hotels, you let them know exactly what it is. And at the end of the day, if they decide to say, okay, I'm going to stick to the rules, I think they'll have a good time wherever they decide to go.
Right. And I mean, even when you travel, let's just say in a non-COVID time, most of these resorts are large enough that if you want a distance, if you want a space, you can always find a place to go.
Correct.
So, as I understand, I know Mexico was operating at 30% occupancy. Can you attest to any of that as far as some of the Caribbean destinations that are open?
Yes. I mean, I can tell you for St. Lucia, we have a few hotels open, about 12 hotels open now, because right now, all of the hotels have to get recertified to open, and they have to re-register again because there are so many new regulations for COVID that they have to put certain things in place. So that has to be, they have to meet a lot of requirements by the health department and the tourism department to open. So hotels are slowly opening. And also this time of year is normally the Caribbean's shoulder period. So August, September, October, some hotels normally close for the month to do, maintenance, and then they open in October, November, because during that time, this is really the slow period. So hotels would have been kind of almost 40-50% occupancy anyway. And with COVID, it comes out, it's like, it's even worse now, because I think the travelers who are traveling now, those who had bookings and had to cancel or reschedule, and they're trying to get that out of the way as soon as possible, because they probably have the time now, because they're supposed to be home quarantining, or probably not even at work, but they've already paid for that vacation. So really, most of the Caribbean destinations, the occupancy, like Mexico, Jamaica, the occupancy is quite low. So I think most of the destinations have put a lot in place for safety. So if people want to travel, I don't think they will come into, like, Mexico is a mass tourism destination. They have hotels with 3,000-4,000 rooms, and also the Dominican Republic, even though their numbers are high with COVID, the hotels are kind of empty. So a 2,000 room hotel may just have about 100 people. So it still gives you the opportunity to social distance and to take care of yourself, as well.
And honestly, I mean, for us parents, if we were to travel somewhere, we're probably escaping because we need a break from people.
Exactly.
So you really probably do want to find like your little nook and go hide and have your drinks, have your beach, have your swim. But I don't know, do you really want to hang out with a bunch of people, or do you want to enjoy some quiet time? So that's a great point. So and since we're talking about St. Lucia, you had posted yesterday, which is great news, that St. Lucia has 0 active cases right now.
Correct.
So, we were talking before. So if you are traveling to the Caribbean, let's say you are traveling to St. Lucia, would it be relatively safe to expect that St. Lucia might become a little bit more strict as far as entry, because they want to keep their population safe?
Correct. Actually, the requirements, excuse me, the requirements right now are quite strict. I mean, you must have your PCR test, and it has to be done within 7 days, because the PCR test is the only test that can really see if you have, the virus early on. Some people are asymptomatic and they don't show it, but the PCR test will see if you have it. So you must have your PCR test. When you get to, most of the airlines, you have to travel with your mask on. So when you get to the island, you have to have your mask on in immigration and customs. And even before you get to immigration and customs, you have to, you go for you do your temperature checks as well. You provide your PCR test. And then we have specific hotels that are open, specific taxis. So you have to get a designated taxi to take you to your resort. Once you get to the resort, all of the requirements, social distancing, wearing your mask, sanitizing all over the place. And what with St. Lucia right now, once you get to your hotel, there are very few attractions that are open. So they really do not want you to go out and mix with the local population. And if, in case somebody infects you or you infect somebody. So because it is so controlled that, I think that the rules right now are quite rigid, because it's so controlled, and it makes it easy for contact tracing as well. And that's
Sure.
one of the reasons why they don't want you to do, 5 nights here, 2 nights there. No, you're coming to stay at a certain, like at the Bay Gardens Beach Resort. You'll be there for the entire time. When you're done, you get to your taxi, go back to the airport, and the same strict requirements. And also the hotels has done a lot to keep you entertained. I mean, to keep you, most of them, they have, you can buy the all-inclusive package. So there is enough food for you. You don't have to go out to the destination to seek local restaurants and bars. And
Sure.
there is enough activities to do on property as well to keep you entertained, so you enjoy your vacation. So as you said, yes, St. Lucia has been very strict, so that there is not an influx with the COVID and the local transmission. A couple of destinations right now are going through that. You could see the USVI, Bahamas, Turks and Caicos is having a hard time as well with the community transmission. And then that's one of the things that everybody was afraid of in the Caribbean, because once you cannot get a hold of the community transmission, that's a big problem.
Yeah, and I mean, it's such a, I've been in the travel industry 7 years, and I don't know that before I got into the travel industry, realized the ripple effect of, something as simple as even like I don't know, a cruise ship not coming into a port. Like, one cruise ship into a port makes a huge difference to revenue and tourism and whatever. So now you have this global pandemic, and just as the United States shut down, other countries had no choice but to shut down, and they lost their number one revenue stream, which is tourism.
Exactly.
Whether we're talking Jamaica, whether we're talking the Dominican Republic, St. Lucia, these are beautiful places that a lot of people like to go. So there is that fine balance of opening to start bringing in revenue, but keeping the residents safe, keeping the tourists safe, and trying to avoid not closing again. So, and again, I'm kind of, I don't want to say I'm putting you on the spot, but like the Dominican Republic, right? The Dominican Republic has the most cases in the Caribbean right now.
Yeah, I think they have almost about 70-something thousand so far. Is the Dominican Republic, and I think it's next is Puerto Rico is going up as well, but the DR has the most so far.
And yet the DR is, looking at opening, or actually, I think some of them has opened. Yeah.
They've been open, and they were not even asking for the PCR test, but now they are asking for the PCR test. But the DR has mostly community transmission, and what everybody's saying is not in the areas where you'll be staying, it's not near the hotel. But all I can see is this the same, unless the staff are being the staff is not in that same area as well. I mean, who is going to take care of the clients? But I haven't heard of any visitors going to the DR and coming back sick or getting sick in the DR. So they are doing something pretty good there to keep their visitors safe.
Well, and it's been a few years since I've been down to the DR. And also, we actually have people watching. So if you have any questions, please, this is the time to ask. It makes it engaging, and it makes Kelly and I feel like someone's actually listening. But so when I was in the DR a few years back, I stayed at Iberostar Grand, and it was a beautiful hotel and over on Bavaro, and I loved it, and I remember I saw these apartments further offset from the property. And the staff had said that the way their schedules work is that, they live there for X amount of weeks, and then they go home, and then they come back. And so hearing that the DR is opening and it is more of a community transmissible thing, it did make me wonder if maybe the staff is a little bit more committed to those apartments, kind of like what, we're calling the bubble, right? We're putting people in the bubble, and so if you want to work, you have to stay within the bubble so that, tourism can resume, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, because the DR, it is very interesting, and you're right. I think it's like the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Haiti, and then, the list goes on and on. So, I mean, myself, I said, I can't travel because of my job. My wife can't travel because of my job. But you, as a person who is very aware of the situation down there, let's just use St. Lucia, because I mean, right here, this is about as close to St. Lucia as I'm going to get. Is this green screen, right now. But if you were to travel, would you feel comfortable in doing so?
I would feel comfortable in doing it, but however, I would do my due diligence, because I would make sure I'm prepared. So if I'm supposed to be traveling, I would make sure I isolate myself before for a few days, then do my PCR test. Do my PCR test, and then I'll follow all the rules of the wearing of the mask in the airport, the hand sanitizing when I get there. And for St. Lucia, if I go to St. Lucia, I'll be going as a resident as well. And even though we do the PCR test and you do everything else, we still have to quarantine for 14 days in a government facility, which is particularly like a nice little hotel. So as a resident, if I go back as a resident, I will have to do the quarantine to make sure that, I'm okay, because the visitors will stay at a property, and then they will go back to the destination. But for me, going as a resident, I'll do the quarantine, and then I have to get into the general population. So they want to make sure that I have no, virus before they allow me to go into the general population. So I feel comfortable traveling to St. Lucia, but you have to take personal responsibility. You have to do what's right. You have to do the PCR test. And I say that if I have to, even before the PCR test, I would stay in my house for at least 7 days, isolate myself to make sure I'm okay, and then do my test and then go on. But I feel very comfortable, because also I think the Caribbean they have done a very good job in containing the virus. I mean, they did the complete lockdowns, they had the curfew, and everything else they have in place. They have done a really good job in containing and also working in contact tracing. So that's the good thing about the Caribbean. So I think the Caribbean is now safer than the US.
Okay. And and it's funny because there was initial and I guess I want to talk about it, but I don't want to seem like I'm making a stance here. But there was a lot of Caribbean destinations that started getting US tourists, and they were having to tell them hey, listen, don't shout your rights at us. You're in our country. So
Correct.
you have to
Yes.
follow our rules. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, regardless of your views on whatever, we'll just say whatever, this whole
Whatever. Correct.
situation,
Yes. Yes.
once you get on that airplane and you land on a foreign country soil, I don't know that they care what our rights are. You're in their land,
Exactly.
play their rules. And if you can't comply with that, if you can't do that, then you shouldn't be coming. So I guess what I'm trying to get at in kind of a roundabout way is, something to keep in mind is if you do travel, you do have to play by whatever country you're in's rules. And also you mentioned the quarantine facility. Just to kind of be clear, I haven't heard of one that isn't this way. That's on your dime if you end up quarantined for 14 days, right? If you're a traveler, correct?
Correct. I think St. Vincent just now started the quarantine for 5 days, and it's on your dime as well. And I don't see anybody wanting to, unless you'll be going for 21 days or something like that, to want to go quarantine or if you're going for 6 months or so, to be going to quarantine for 14 days. And you have to pay for those 14 days and then to continue on a vacation. That
Right.
doesn't sound like, something, unless you're really trying to get away and then you have all the time in the world, to do. But yeah, if some destinations you have to do the double testing. So even though you come with the PCR test, your negative PCR test, you still have to do a test at the destination at the airport. Like Barbados is one of those islands. I think St. Vincent is as well. Aruba is another one as well, that you have to do another test on island and then wait you have to either wait 5 days or 7 days either to quarantine or to get your results back so that you can go into the general population.
Okay, and so I'm going to ask you one more thing about our COVID travel, because I always try to make my podcast Zooms business but fun the same. So this is my last bit of COVID discussion. I understand Aruba. If you want to go to Aruba, you have to do a PCR test, but you also have to buy travel insurance through Aruba, correct?
Correct, yes. Aruba, you can buy the travel insurance through Aruba. I think it's about a value of $75,000, but it depends on how many people traveling, how long you stayed, and everybody's age as well. So it's not just Aruba, but Aruba, you have to buy the travel insurance. St. Martin, you have to buy the travel insurance as well. And then, Costa Rica is not Caribbean, but Costa Rica as well, you have to purchase travel insurance before you can even get to those destinations. And that's and Turks and Caicos as well.
Okay, yeah. And it's interesting because this is another one of those things where, I won't say I have a lot of clients that don't like to buy travel protection, but the ones that do, they tend to be pretty, no, I ain't doing it. I don't need it.
It's correct. Yes.
So now you kind of have no choice. If you want to go, you got to play by the rules.
You have to do it. And I think this time of hopefully this will help travel consumers booking travel advisors, because I think at this time during COVID, your best friend in when you're booking a vacation is your travel advisor and health insurance. You know, these are the two, this is what's really important right now. If you're trying to book a vacation to anywhere, is your travel advisor, because they know what they're talking about, they've done the research, and you better take that travel insurance and the health insurance now. So
Right.
your best bet.
So okay, so let's talk fun, because here's where I'm at, right? So I say I haven't been to St. Lucia. It's on my wife's and my when we can list. You know, the world's a big place. You can only go so many places, you know.
Yes, you can.
But you lived there, you said 20 years, right?
Oh, I grew up in St. Lucia. St. Lucia is like my home. I grew up, went to school, started my career in St. Lucia, so I know all the little.
All right, so I'm a big foodie, and something I think I want to do, maybe as I get a little more advanced, because the Priority One Travel Studio is pretty limited right now. It's a green screen that's apparently not wide enough, because you can still see my ceiling, and so you know, this is all like getting pieced together. Anyways. Something I thought about doing is like a cooking segment, right? Like, you know, like find like an international dish and make it. So St. Lucia, what is St. Lucia known for as far as food? What's its dish?
You see, St. Lucia is that, you know, that melting pot when it comes to food. We have the European, you have all the different Caribbean dishes, the African, Indian. But our national dish is what we call green bananas and saltfish, or green fig and saltfish, which is the boiled green bananas and the stewed saltfish. And we do it many different ways. You have the green fig salad. You could do it in a very gourmet type of way. And you could do it in the way where, you know what, I feel for green fig and stuff, and just splash everything on. So it can be done in very different ways. And on the island, a lot of the properties like the Calabash Cove and the Bay Gardens Beach and the St. James Club Morgan Bay, there is always this local section on the menu where you can get some of our local meals. And then the green fig and saltfish is always on it. Another dish we call a bouillon. A bouillon is like a one pot with, it depends. You can have the lambi, which is conch in it, or you can have the pigtail. People do it with chicken as well. So it's like a one pot, very, very tasty. And it's normally, like in St. Lucia, we have days that we eat, like from Monday to Friday, we would eat chicken and fish. On a Saturday, we'd have the soup or the bouillon where we can get all the local food. And on a Sunday, we do the mac and cheese, the baked mac and cheese, the baked chicken, or a type of a beef meal, and green fig salad, because we all do the green fig and salad, which is our national dish, but we also make a salad out of it as well. So the green fig and green fig salad is the green bananas boiled, and it's stewed as saltfish, the salted codfish. You add your green peppers or your seasoning, and you add a little bit of mayo in it as well. So that makes a beautiful salad dish. Instead of potato, we do the green banana the green fig salad. So
Okay.
So this is like, you know, but there are lots, as you talk about cooking, I think cooking is a way that you can really get to know a destination, really immerse in the culture and the heritage. And there are some cooking shows, cooking tours in St. Lucia that you could do. Like there's Cook Like a Lucian, where they take you to the garden, you pick your vegetables and your herbs and spices, and they show you how to make like a creole, a fish creole, which is very traditional on the island. You could do your fish creole. They show you how to stew chicken, which is another traditional dish on the island as well, and how to prepare what we call the grand provisions, like the yams and the dasheen and stuff like that. So you can actually really learn how to prepare a Creole dish, because St. Lucia was 7 times French and 7 times British. We have that Creole heritage. And then even we speak Creole as well, which is a kind of like a French language. Creole is spoken in Haiti, the Seychelles Islands. You hear in Martinique as well, and Dominica. So we all speak that language. So we all have that French background. So the cooking is, you know, the Creole cooking is another way that you can learn a little bit more about St. Lucia. So I think food is a good way to get to know the Caribbean.
Well, and and again, obviously this is a different time, but one of my last trips to Jamaica, I have a good friend who's a driver down there, owns a transfer company, and we've become great friends. We started business right about the same time, and I said, hey, I trust you. Take me places, like that aren't resort food. Take me and let
Correct.
me experience the local cuisine. And we went to the Rock House Hotel in Negril, Jamaica, and we ate at their restaurant in there. And my wife had, I believe it was coconut chicken or curry chicken, whatever. To this
Very
day,
chicken
she still
coconut.
says it was one of the best meals she ever had. And you're right, you get because the resorts have to accommodate so many palates, so they may not.
Exactly. So it's a little bit bland. So if you want to taste, if you really want to taste the destination, you have to go into the little moms and pop, the little hut by the road,
Right,
the food truck that comes where, there's normally, like, if you have an area where it's in the middle of the city, like where everybody works, and then there will be a little food truck or little hut. And you see at 12:30, it's surrounded by people. Just you have to go there. They serve the good local food. And I
right.
always recommend that even though you stay at an all-inclusive resort, you need to get out of the hotel and go and try the local food, because you'll never experience anything like that at the resort. You have to get out there. And, like in Jamaica, there's a place called Scotch. I think it's Scotches.
Yes,
And
I
yes,
love scotchies.
yes, everybody who goes to Jamaica have to go in there and sample, just to say I've been there and to sample the food. And I was speaking to my partner, he's Jamaican, and he was telling me I went to Scotch. He's like, Scotches is nothing. You need to go blah, blah, blah. So the Jamaicans themselves, they know where the food is not, as you say, too bland for the visitors. So then, they tell you, no, 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 you need to go to this little place by the road, and, this little outlet in the hole. And, so
Right.
I find this is really what vacation is in. It's not just going to a hotel and, doing the 5-star dinner every single night. No, you need to go and experience how everybody on the island enjoys, their meals as well.
Absolutely. And that's one of my favorite things. And actually, real quick, oh wait, wrong. I have twins that booked honeymoons with me. One to St. Lucia, one to Jamaica, and I thought that the twin that booked St. Lucia was here, but that's my Jamaican client, which is also my cousin Molly. So I was hoping Kate was on here, but she'll watch us later. But so, to the local cuisine. And the other thing is you're really showing love for the community, right? Because
Correct. Yes. Yes.
because you're showing. I always tell my clients to learn something about the destination they're going to. And go beyond. Like my first trip to Jamaica, I don't want to say I offended my bellman, but my bellman was like, hey, what do you know about reggae? And I was like, oh, I like Bob Marley. And he's like, oh no, there's more to reggae than Bob Marley, And so the next time I went, I was a little bit more educated, and
Yeah, knowledgeable. Yes.
the roots of reggae and the way it branched out, and then what it was today. And I understood soccer, football, like
Not the American football.
right. So I do think that, when you go out into the local culture, you get more of the real feel, so that is big. So the next thing I want to ask
Yeah,
you.
and if you go to St. Lucia, they'll talk about cricket.
Oh yeah, and I tried to learn
Not that.
cricket. That
Yeah,
one's too much for me right now. I still can't grasp it. I would watch it at the bar, and I'll watch it if I can find it online. But if you asked me how it's played, I have no clue.
no, no, no. You have to go watch cricket, like in St. Lucia when they have the one-day international, where cricket can be a couple of days when they have the test matches. But when you go for the one-day international, where both teams have to bat and win that day, this is the most fun games. And in St. Lucia, they give you the day off to go watch cricket. That's how important cricket is to the destiny
I
to the
love it.
people on the island. So you get, if St. Lucia is playing a game, you might just get a holiday to go watch the game.
I'm gonna have to watch it again, and maybe like have a guide as to how to understand it, because
Exactly. You need to watch it if somebody else, who knows the game, and once they explain it to you, you'll fall in love with it.
well, if we're gonna be totally honest, the first time I tried to learn cricket, I think I was about 8 rum punches in with a bartender, and he might have really explained it well, but
But that it didn't stick.
no, no, no. So I guess the other thing I always like to talk about, and you know, so I like to talk about the food, the culture, the music, okay? And I think unfortunately the Caribbean all gets labeled as reggae, but like
Yes,
there's
yes.
more to Caribbean music than reggae. So tell me a little bit about like the St. Lucia music. Is it like a calypso? Is it a I mean like what is the sound of St. Lucia?
Lucia's music is a little bit bigger, a little bit different. It's not, you'll get reggae, we have our reggae lovers, but St. Lucia, with Carnival, comes Calypso, and St. Lucians love the Calypso. And, you'll find a lot of Calypso, but St. Lucia, just for about a couple of years now, they have this new thing called Denry segment. When you get off, you should go and Google it. Go YouTube and find the Denry segment.
All right, hang on. I'm going to write this down. You keep talking. I'm going to write this down.
Do the Denry segment, and then we'll talk about it another time. So this is like almost like a new generation of music in St. Lucia, and it has picked up in I think all over the world. When you hear certain sound, and it's Denry segment. It's DENNERY segment.
All right,
So
DENNERY.
yes, and
Segment.
segment. Yes.
Okay.
So this is So this is like this originated in St. Lucia in a small community called Dennery. That's why they named Dennery segment. So go Google it. But also we do a lot of soca. So a lot of soca, and also a lot of the Caribbean do soca, like St. Lucia, Grenada, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago. They're also big on soca music, like Marshall Montano. St. Lucia has Teddy St. John. So these are the big names in the Caribbean when it comes to soca music, and St. Lucia is also very big on soca music.
Well, I'm all about the music, and right now, it's funny, and I'm not picking on my wife at all. When the first time I landed in Jamaica, and I have been to Mexico, the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos, Jamaica for some reason felt like home to me, and I don't know what it was, but it really did. And when we came home, I didn't stop listening to reggae for like days and weeks and months, and I still do, but lately I sit in my driveway at the end of the evening. I have a little fire pit my wife bought me for Father's Day. I light a fire, I make a cocktail, and I throw on some music. So I'm always looking for new music, and so I'm always looking to expand those horizons there. So like I said, I always like learning about the different cultures and the different sounds. So I guess my one last question, and then we'll wrap up, because I know you have other meetings. And again, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. It's really been
Oh,
fun.
you miss welcome. That was fun. That has been fun. So anytime.
So tell me, all right, so every destination has its touristy destination, right? And obviously, like the Pitons, they're beautiful. Like there's no, that's beautiful. I'm not diminishing that, but when you go to St. Lucia, what is something that a tourist should do or discover that isn't part of like the norm? You know what I mean? Like everyone goes and does this attraction, but really they're missing out, and they could experience it better by doing this. Is there something unique to St. Lucia that a lot of the tourists don't discover that they should?
I don't know. I think St. Lucia is a really beautiful dive destination, and not everybody comes for dive, because St. Lucia is labeled as the romance destination. And you do the typical, the climb the pitons and go to the sulfur spring. But St. Lucia is an amazing dive destination, and divers normally go to Roatan, Mexico, Belize, that's some of the, Bonaire, Sabre, those are the really great dive destinations in the Caribbean. But St. Lucia is a magnificent dive destination, and I find that not many people come down there for dive, because they're not aware that it's also a really nice, a really fantastic dive place. And also the food. I think St. Lucia is a great foodie destination. I've always been trying to do like a foodie tour. I know some islands has a foodie walk or a foodie tour,
Mm-hmm.
and this is something that you can actually sell when the culinary tourism, and not just going to different restaurants, but going. So people are now beginning to have little tours where you can come to a home and they'll cook for up to 12 people, and then you'll be part of that cooking as well. So it's also very educational because you learn about the culture and the food, and then you eat some good food.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I mean, you don't go on vacation not to enjoy a great meal and a great drink and you know the I mean, for me, just the sound of the waves and
Yeah, that,
you know, I mean, it's there's so much more to destinations, but I think through this quarantine and COVID and all this other stuff, you learn to appreciate very, very simple things. And I'm looking forward to the
correct.
next vacation that I just get to be somewhere different with the very simple things, you know?
Mhm.
So, all right. Well, um, again, I want to say thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you'd consider joining us in the future. And
Definitely. When we don't have to talk about COVID and we talk about, something new in each destination, I would love to do that.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, again, so
Yeah.
we were with Kelly Fontenelle, and again, she has been so kind in spending some time with us, trying to inform us about travel with COVID and talk a little bit about St. Lucia, her home, and again, she manages Kelly and owns Kelly Fontenelle Marketing and Consultancy. So again, thank you for joining the Priority One Travel podcast, Facebook Live, Zoom, whatever we're going to call it. It's going to be everywhere, and I look forward to talking with you, and hopefully someday I can actually meet you and we can share a drink together.
Definitely. We definitely a nice rum and coke, from we will choose the island, choose the destination.
I like your style. I think we're going to get along just fine. Kelly, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me and have a wonderful rest of the day.
You as well. Take care, my friend.
Okay, bye.